Hi, my name's James Spire, and I'm a member here at Impact Church. I want to invite you to come along with us in our series in Genesis in the beginning. Join along with us as Pastors Mike and Chris share about God's creativity, majesty, and power through His creation.
Welcome to Impact Church. My name is Pastor Mike. If you are watching online, welcome as well as we continue in our current teaching series in the beginning. And I am thrilled to see all of you here. I am thrilled that you are watching online with us as well. And this has been an awesome series so far. I hope you guys are excited about what we're going to look at this morning as well. I just want to say a special thank you to the worship team. That was awesome. I mean, there is no better way to get your hearts prepared to meet with God than to shout your praises to Him. And they did a phenomenal job of getting us into that spot. I wanted to come up like halfway through the song and just start preaching then, but Jeremy would have gotten mad at me. So we are meeting, we are ready, we are here. Go ahead and open up your Bibles to Genesis chapter 1, and we're going to keep going into our day-by-day study of the creation account. You know, the creation of the world, it's a testament to God's love, to His power, to His creativity, to His intelligence, to all of it. And it's all done to show us how important we are. And oftentimes we look at the creation account and we miss that God is literally sharing with us how valuable He sees us, how much He loves us through the creation account. And you know, this book right here, this Bible that was written by prophets and wise men and warriors and just giving all this information to us is an amazing opportunity to show us and to navigate through the creation account and to show us that God's greatest intention for us when He made this world, when He created the world, when He created everything that's in it, when He created us, that He wants us to understand that He wants us to have an eternal, blessed, and perfected relationship with Him. Relationship. That's the key to Christianity that so many people in this world are missing right now. See, a relationship isn't just you showing up and just sitting down and saying hi. Right? Hi, God, I'm here. That's not a relationship. He wants a relationship with you. He wants, and as much as God has done in your life and as many things as God has given around us, all of these things He's doing it because He wants to prove to you, He wants to show you, He wants to try and urge you to come and say, hey, I want this relationship with you. What else do I have to do? What more do I have to show you? What better gift do I have to give you? What more has to be done for you to understand that I love you and that I want a relationship with you and I want to walk with you. I want to be with you. And too often we just say, well, Sunday morning, hi God. And that's the end of it. All of this is to show us how important we are, how much He loves us. We're on day 5 of the creation account, and Chris and I have been going through this series and showing you the different aspects of the beauty of God's creation. And we're going to be looking at Genesis 1, starting in verse 20. Now, I'm going to actually throw a little bit of a curveball in here today, because we're actually going to go through day 5 and then like the first part of day 6. And we're doing this because I want to bring you all the animals today. And the animals were created, the sea animals and the birds in the air, they were created on day 5, but the land animals, they didn't come until the beginning of day 6. But I told Chris I want to be selfish, I want to get all the animals. So I'm going to take part of day 6 as well. So we're going to do a day and a half today. So we're going to go verse 20 through 25. Let's read that real quick and then we're going to jump into it. Then God said, let the waters swarm with the fish and other life. Let the skies be filled with birds of every kind. So God created great sea creatures and every living thing that scurries and swarms in the water. And every sort of bird, each producing offspring of the same kind. And God said that it was good. Verse 22, then God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply. Let the fish fill the seas, and let the birds multiply on the earth. And evening passed, and morning came, marking the 5th day. Verse 24, then God said, let the earth produce every sort of animal, each producing offspring of the same kind, livestock, small animals that scurry along the ground, and wild animals. And God And that's what happened. God made all sorts of wild animals, livestock and small animals, each able to produce offspring of the same kind, and God saw that it was good. All right, so now, day one, it was dark, and God created light. And he's formed this earth, this globe, this ball that's floating around in space. And then he starts putting the water and separating the waters that are on this earth and giving us that protection, that dome of protection we talked about. And then he starts separating the waters so that we have that land mass that mankind would soon live on. Then we've got the universe. And Chris did an awesome job last week talking about the stars and the planets and how God holds it all in the palm of his hand. And it shows us the power and the majesty of the Creator. And then all of a sudden now we have some life brewing. We got the sea creatures, and we got the birds in the air, and we got the land animals. And we start seeing God do something different than anything he's done thus far. And he's starting to create and build this world. And we have two distinctions, and Chris is going to talk next week about this idea of humans and mankind, and today I'm going to cover the animals. And I want to look at this real quick. Day 5.5, all right, into day 6. I want us to first stop and think about, the animals. What's the point? Why the animals are even there? What's the difference, number one, between humans and animals, right? Why did God make two different things? And what is the big difference between humans and animals, right? Everybody asks that question, is my dog going to be in heaven? Is my cat Foo going to be in heaven? Because everybody thinks that your animals are so precious they're going to be in heaven with you someday. I'm not going to answer that question today. I don't want to get mad at me. So we're just going to focus on the actual creation of the animals. But we like to sit there and think, my cat's my kid, right? They're precious to, and the animals they're great, they're beautiful, they're created, but they are not created equally to humans. And we got to understand that a little bit. What is the difference? What's the difference between humans and animals? Well, letter A, we were created in God's image. We were created in God's image. All right? That's the first big difference between animals and humans. Genesis 1:26, and God said, let us make human beings in our own image to be like us. We are created in God's image. Well, what is that? What is the image of God? It's an interesting topic. I'm going to try not to go too far in because I don't want to steal Chris's thunder. But what it is that we're talking about, this image aspect of God, because we know John tells us that God is what? Spirit, right? He doesn't have a body. So what does the image look like? What is the image of God? Well, there's three kind of areas that we are created in the image of God like. The first one is morally, mentally, and socially. So morally, we are created in God's image. Mentally, we are created in God's image. And socially, we are created in God's image. Well, what does that mean? Well, when you look at the idea of mentally created, God is creative. He is someone that makes things happen. So anytime you see someone like write a book or paint a picture or they name a pet, that's how we are mentally like God. All right, we have that creative aspect to us like God does. That's mentally how we are in the image of God. Morally, we are like God. So the idea of anyone that writes a law or has a good behavior, praises good behavior, or feels guilty, it's this righteousness, this perfect innocence that we have, that we are like God. So mentally and morally, we are like God. And then socially, we are like God. It's the fellowship aspect of our creation, of how we are created. So when you get married, we hug a child, you make a friend, all of those are different ways that we are like God. We are made in God's image. Right? So we are made in God's image separately than animals are. So we were created in God's image. The second thing is that we were created by hand and not by voice. All right? So up until now, how has God created everything? He spoke it, right? Let there be light, right? He's separating the waters. He speaks the animals into existence. But mankind, he actually formed with his hands, all right? He created us by hand and not by voice. Genesis 2:7, then the Lord God formed the man of the dust of the ground and breathed the breath of life into man's nostrils, and the man became a living person. You know, it's interesting, from the very first breath in the beginning, right? God has been showing us how deeply connected he wants to be to us. You know, up until now, he's just said, let there be this, let there be that, right? But this time, he actually breathed life into the person. It's intimate, it's caring, it's loving, it's personal. And he shows us that that's how much he cares for us, in that we were created by hand and not just by voice. So what is the difference between humans and animals? We were created in God's image, and that we were created by hand and not voice. Number two, why did God create animals on the earth to begin with? What's the big deal? Why make them? Right? I mean, if he made a perfect man, right, and then eventually he found the woman, why is it that he even made animals? What's the point? Why aren't we just all around here? Why do we need Fufu the cat? Right? Why do we need these animals in our lives? What's the whole point of these animals? So why did God create the animals on the earth? Well, the first one, letter A, is to share his power and creativity and personality. We're going to sit here for a minute, because this is my favorite part of the whole message. This is the amazing aspect. This is where, when I talk about how God shows you his love, his creativity, all these things within creation to show us how amazing he is and how special we are, this is one of these things that just gets me excited. It gets me, I'm just ready to just meet with God because I see how much he cares for me. You know, he wants us to see his power. You know, how many of you guys know that there are dinosaurs in the Bible? I had a friend in high school one time say, Mike, if the Bible was real, all right, then it would have dinosaurs in it. And we know dinosaurs exist. We found the skeletons. You can't deny it. But dinosaurs aren't in the Bible. Yes, they are. They are. You know, Job talks about it. Psalm talks about it. The behemoth, the Leviathan. Talks about how the behemoth's tail is as big as a cedar, that its bones are so thick that and it's so wild no man can tame it. You know, that the Leviathan swims around in the ocean and plays amongst the ships. You know, this is an amazing creature. These are amazing creatures that God created. And we see that God did these to show us his power. Psalm 104 says, O Lord, what a variety of things you have made. In wisdom you have made them all. The earth is full of your creatures. Here is the ocean, vast and wide, teeming with life of every kind, both large and small. See the ship sailing along in Leviathan, which was made to play in the sea. You know, we see how amazing what it is that God, and within the Creator, within the things that he created, we now get to see who he is. What does that mean? This is a good part. Any kids in the house? Kids, raise your hands. This is the fun part of the message right now. All right, because we're going to do picture time. Picture time with Pastor Mike. All right? I want to show you guys 4 animals that are just stupid awesome. I had a friend that messaged me this morning, and he said, man, you should have put this one on the list, the octopus. It's colorblind. That's awesome. Like, that is pretty cool, dude, but these ones are a little bit more epic. All right, the first one, something that you guys have probably all seen before, the hummingbird. How many of you guys seen a hummingbird before? It's all right. I know it's a Baptist church. You can raise your hand, though. All right? A hummingbird. All right, the hummingbirds are amazing creatures. They're also the smallest migratory bird, right? Little guys, but they still fly a long ways, thousands of miles. And, you know, these things, how small, you know, the average weight of a hummingbird, it weighs less than a nickel. A nickel! Weighs less than a nickel, and the thing can fly for thousands of miles. And it's also the only bird that can fly forward, side to side, and backwards. The only bird that can fly backwards. All right? Oh, it's kind of cool, Pastor Mike, not really. All right, how about this? This bird, when it's flapping its wings, it flaps in a figure 8, right, like this. 50 to 80 beats per second. It's doing this. Try it, right? 50 to 80 beats per second, this hummingbird, all right? And these things can fly up to 61 miles per hour. That little bird. Imagine that point hitting you at 61 miles an hour. Good night. The heartbeat of a hummingbird. All right, so the human heartbeat, 50 to 80 beats per minute, roughly. All right. The hummingbird, 1,260 beats per minute, that heart. That sucker is cruising. I mean, that is an amazing little bird. Amazing little bird. You know, it flaps its wings so fast that the human eye can't even recognize it. We can't even recognize it. It's going so fast. That's God's creativity. That's God's imagination right there, working in life, real life to show us. How about this next one? The man-o-war. Yeah, the man-o-war. How many of you have ever seen a man-o-war? All right? It's interesting. A lot of people like to think that these things are jellyfish. They're actually not jellyfish. They just look like jellyfish. In fact, these things are actually a colony of multiple animals, different specimens living together. Yeah. Sometimes they found up to 12 different specimens living together underneath that gas sack right there that floats on top of the ocean. And there's all these different specimens. What's crazy about it, different animals, they're all genetically identical. So they're like clones of each other. Genetically identical, separate animals that are all living in coexistence inside, underneath this sack that's floating around, right? And sometimes, so these things like to eat like little tiny fish. That's what they like to eat. But sometimes as these fish get older and they get smarter, the fish will actually live inside amongst their tentacles and inside that sack, and they'll actually live right amongst them, moving around because it keeps them safe. No other predator wants to come after the man-o-war. So these animals, they'll live inside and they'll just keep moving around so they don't get hit by those tentacles that are in there and get eaten. It's crazy that these fish live inside of these animals. And you know what's crazy? Those tentacles can get up to 165 feet long. 165 feet. That's crazy. That's amazing. It's incredible that these things will actually live like that. There's this colony of specimens that live together underneath this sack that go through life as one. We always look at that and say, oh, that's just a jellyfish. No, that's a miracle. That's creativity. That's amazing. Oh, this guy's one of my favorites. Everybody meet mantis shrimp. When I preached this message years ago, I brought this dude into the picture too, the mantis shrimp. And it's funny because he's neither a shrimp nor a mantis. He's actually in the family of the lobster. All right, and what makes this guy kind of cool is his Mike Tyson abilities. All right, so the mantis shrimp actually had these two clubs that sit like this underneath him, and he punches, and that's how he kills his prey. Prey walks up to him, and he punches it really hard, like Mike Tyson punched really hard. How hard? This thing, when it punches, all right, when it clubs the prey that comes after it, that club comes out at over 50 miles per hour. It shoots the same velocity of a .22 bullet when that thing comes out of there. And it hits the prey so hard, the temperatures of the water around where it just hit reaches the same temperatures as the surface of the sun. The water boils right then. It hits it so hard, and the friction causes the water to boil. So not only does the punch kill the prey, it actually cooks it a little bit too, right there. It boils the water and knocks the thing out, kills it instantly. This little guy is amazing when it comes to how God created it to actually kill its prey. It also has the most complex eyes in the entire animal kingdom. Right? So there's this photoreceptors that all eyes have. So we as humans, we have like 3 photoreceptors in our eyes. That mantis shrimp has 12. They say that when it sees, it can see so many different colors that sometimes it confuses itself because there's so many different colors within that eye when it's looking around. You know, and it's interesting when you think about, hey, how can that thing punch so hard, go that quick, and not hurt itself, right? I mean, you think if that thing was launching off that 50-mile-an-hour punch every now and then, it would hurt itself or it would cook itself with its own punches. Well, the reality is that the skeletal system and the shell that's built onto this mantis shrimp is so impressive that the military actually studies it, and they take this shell and they see how it's created and how it's formed, and they actually are using it to create new body armor and aircraft armor. That's how amazing this little creature is. So its shell is so thick and it has this coating over the top of it that it never actually hurts itself when it gets hit or when it's punching like that. It was created to do exactly that thing and to survive within it. So the scientists are actually studying this animal to try and better armor that goes into our military. That's how incredible this little mantis shrimp is. It's amazing. Here's my favorite guy. Ladies and gentlemen, the water bear. I put this thing up on Drive, and I told the guys, like, all right, guys, here's the slides for this week. And James texts me, he's like, dude, what in the blazes are you preaching about this weekend? Because he saw that guy, right? The water bear. Some people call him the moss piglet, right? His real name is the tardigrade, all right? So the moss piglet, the water bear, little tiny dude, 0.5 millimeters big, little tiny guy, all right? And he is an amazing, amazing creature. In fact, this little guy can survive in heat up to, and they actually, I felt a little bad, they boiled him in alcohol up to 520 degrees Fahrenheit, and he survived. He's also been frozen down to negative 520 degrees, and he still survived. All right, this guy, he's so impressive that they can live in space for up to 10 days. In 2007, they took some up to space on a rocket, and the animals actually survived in space for 10 days, this little guy. I mean, this bear is almost indestructible. It's incredible, this little guy, what he can do. And he's just this little specimen. In fact, they say when he gets in danger and he starts losing, life, he can take 99% of the moisture, if he loses it, and he can go into a hibernative state and basically turn himself into he's not going to go into a cocoon like a butterfly does, something like that. He's actually just going to go into like a frozen state. And he can survive in that frozen state for generations. And then all of a sudden, when he's back into an environment where he can get moisture back in his body, he'll come back out of it. It's incredible. This little animal, the water bear. All of these animals speak to one thing. God. God. Why else would he create something that we can't even see with our eyes? Other than to sit there and say, I want you to see how amazing I am. I want you to see how special you are. That among all of these creatures that I made, among all of the greatness that they have, among everything that I've made around you, you are still my greatest creation. You are still the one that I cared the most about. You are still the one that I want a relationship with. See, the difference between us and animals is they won't have a relationship with God, a personal relationship with God. But we can. And he wants us to. But too often we sit there and say, no, hi God, I'm good. And we miss out. He wants us to see his power, his creativity, his personality. And he shows us through these animals. He shows us through his creation how great he is. Well, why else did he create these animals on the earth? Letter B, to fulfill his plans. He actually used the animals throughout life to show us his plans. 1 Kings 17, drink from the brook and eat what the ravens bring you, for I have commanded them to bring you food. The ravens brought him bread and meat each morning and evening, and he drank from the brook. So God actually used ravens to bring food to this person so that way they could continue to do the work that he had for them, that he had for him. It's amazing to see how God used the animals. Could you imagine just sitting there by your campfire and all of a sudden the ravens come by and bring you your dinner? I mean, that's like Uber 1.0 right there, right? They're bringing all that food right to you. How about in 2 Kings? Elijah. Anybody heard Elijah and the bears? Elisha, S-H-A? Elijah and the bears? Yeah, this guy. So Elijah, right, he's a prophet of God, walking home. He's actually walking to go into a city that he did not want to go to. These people were just bad people. And he was going to prophesy to these people. He's walking down the path, and it says that this gang of youth actually came up on him and started making fun of him because he was bald, right? And they're like, hi, baldy, da-da-da. And they're making fun. So Elijah, what does he do? He prays. He goes, God curse you. God will curse you for what you just said to me. And all of a sudden, these two mama bears come out of the woods and maul him. It's in the Bible, boys and girls. It really happened. These bears came out. But he said, that's not a very nice Bible story, Pastor Mike. It's not, but the point is, God used these animals in different times throughout creation. Right? And he uses these animals to show us different things and to show us his plans. You have Balaam the donkey, right? So you got Balaam the donkey who God actually used to help bring Balaam back on track with him. How about the donkey that Jesus rode into Jerusalem on? All of these were different ways that God used animals to fulfill his plans. So he wanted to share his power, his creativity, his personality. He wanted to fulfill his plans. And then third, he wanted to teach us. He created animals to teach us. Job 12. But now ask the beast, and they will teach you, and the birds of the air, and they will tell you. These animals are there as an example to us. Proverbs 6:6 talks about the ant. All right, he's speaking specifically to lazy people here. He goes, if you're a lazy person, all right, look at the ant. Look how they work. Look how they give everything that they have. Look how they put everything above themselves and for everyone else around them. Look at the ant. And he calls you a sluggard. You old sluggard. Look at the ant. You want to understand how to live life? Look at the ant. He gives these animals as a teaching tool for us. He wants us to show who he is. Number 3, the last one. Last one. What will animals be doing in heaven? So we know God created the animals, and we know that he created us, and that we're going to be in heaven one day if you have a relationship with him. Well, what about animals? Are animals going to be in heaven one day with us? Are animals going to be a part of eternity with us one day? Will animals be in eternity? Well, they will be. Revelation 5 tells us one specific thing, that the animals will actually be up there and they will be praising God with us. Praising God with us. I don't even know how that's going to sound, but it's going to be amazing. Even the animals themselves will be praising the Lord. Revelation 5. But Isaiah 11. You know, it's an amazing, amazing story, or amazing way to look at it. In fact, I'm going to turn over and read about it. Isaiah 11. Isaiah 11 talks about how we're going to be living with these animals. Isaiah 11, starting verse 6, says, in that day the wolf and the lamb will live together. The leopard will lie down with the baby goat. The calf and the yearling will be safe with the lion. And a little child will lead them all. The cow will graze near the bear. The cub and the calf will lie down together. The lion will eat hay like a cow. What? The baby will play safely near the hole of a cobra. And a little child will put his hand in the nest of deadly snakes without harm. Now that's the description of the millennial reign when we're going to be here in the new earth and the new kingdom with Christ. But that's a perfect example. It's an exact replica of what we're going to be like in eternity one day with God. We're going to have these animals that we're going to live together with. You know, when God originally created these animals with Adam and Eve, he created them because he wanted them to have something else around them. He wanted them to be able to see the beauty and the majesty of God. And it's amazing to think that one day we're going to be able to enjoy that as well. We'll be praising God with the animals. We'll be living with them in heaven. And all of that is great. And listen, the water bear is cool. The mantis shrimp is cool. The hummingbird. All of these could be like, top 4 creations of God. But none of them compare to you. He can live in space for 10 days. It's nothing on you. He can flap his wings 50 beats a second. Nothing on you. He can punch so hard that he boils the water. Nothing on you. You are precious. And God wants you to know you're precious. So he created these animals to show you that you are great. And he wants you to look at that creation around you, and he wants you to know that you are loved. Why? Because Matthew 6:26. Look at the birds. They don't plant or harvest or store food in barns, for your heavenly Father feeds them. And aren't you far more valuable to him than they are? You are so precious that he sent his son to get on a cross. You are so precious that Jesus left perfection to come live down on this earth, which is not perfect. You are so precious that he lived a sinless life so that way you can meet him one day and live in eternity in perfection. But all of this, you can't have it unless you meet and have a relationship with him, like we said at the very beginning. It's about the relationship. Don't just show up on Sunday and say, "Hey, God," and then turn around and walk home and say, "Well, I might come back next week." You know, the average person attends church once a month now? Once a month. That's not a relationship. And honestly, even just having one of these, not a relationship. This sits on your shelf, and you got to do this when you get ready for it. Not a relationship. You know what a relationship is? It's every single day meeting with him and recognizing his beauty, appreciating his beauty, and desiring for it to be a part of your life. And I would challenge each and every one of you guys to think about whether or not you're there today. Whether or not you are in a relationship with Jesus Christ. Because if you're not, I don't know what you're waiting for. God can't show us any more about how much he cares about us than what he's already done. He gave us the world, wasn't enough. Gave us the animals, wasn't enough. Sent his son, and half of us still, it wasn't enough. What else do you need? Sometimes I get annoyed to have to preach this over and over again. What do you need? My grandfather used to say when he preached, he gave his son, what more could he have done?